Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So following on from the video I've just done about Caroline Flack being abusive to her boyfriend, I wanted to do a tarot reading just to kind of back it up, because I just wanted to kind of prove definitively to myself and to everyone else what was actually going on. So I did shuffle the cards before I started recording because they were really eager to kind of get out. So I'll explain what everything means essentially. So these rows here, I asked, was she physically and emotionally abusive to him? And these cards here, I asked why she actually killed herself. Now, this may appear to be in bad taste, but obviously because she has only done it in the past day or so, the energies are a lot stronger, so the messages will come through stronger. So what this indicates to me, from the Two of Cups, it was a loving relationship, and in spite of everything that happened, she did consider him to be her soulmate, and I do feel he is still very loving towards her despite what actually happened. Now, the Fool and the Devil together indicates that this is a woman who is abusive. You know, the devil represents all kinds of abuse, and with the Fool, it's kind of as though it's very impulsive when she does it, but she does do it, and she kind of loses all sense of, what should I say, she lost all sense of like reality in those moments, and she kind of just had this brain fog and just attacked him. And I don't really feel like it was a one-off, and the reason I say that is because of the Seven of Wands and the Seven of Cups. You know, the Seven of Wands is an ongoing battle. It's something that happens constantly. And for her, I feel as though she was a very strong-minded person, and I feel like she got triggered very easily by things, and it caused her to go off the rails, fly off the handle. The Emperor reversed in this situation does represent Caroline, and it shows someone who is very manipulative and can become extremely abusive when she doesn't get things her own way, or if things aren't following a set pattern to, you know, how she's planned them. You know, and the Emperor is someone who's quite calculating with this, and the reason I say this is I feel as though, although there was an element of guilt to her killing herself, I feel like she kind of knew if she did it that people would instantly offer sympathy and things like that, and everyone would remember her as a martyr as opposed to the actual shitty things that she did. The Hermit, you know, it represents someone who outwardly appears to be very spiritual, very, what's the word, like social justice warrior in a way, like the role for women's rights and things like that, but you know, they're just very sort of seclusive, if that makes sense. Like, it's one rule for them and one rule for others. You know, they tend to isolate themselves, you know, and I do see, you know, the last sort of the videos that they released of her when she's been taken into custody or coming out of custody, she did look broken, but I do feel as though it's because she knew the jig was up. She'd been caught red-handed and there was no way out of it, you know, and her boyfriend denied it. But it's very common for victims of domestic abuse to deny that their abusers have done anything wrong because they love them so much, and she really made him believe that they were soulmates, and she told him that after she attacked him. You know, oh, we're soulmates, you know. I lost my temper, it was impulsive, you know. But the thing is, I feel like she's done this in other relationships before. She's done other questionable things, you know. she went out with a 17-year-old when I think she was in her late 30s. You know, there's just like very questionable things that she's done, and I just think it's so easy for people to blame social media, but they forget these things that she's done. You know, and like the Nine of Cups here, this is not a happy relationship. This is like the opposite of what you want in a relationship. You know, it's abusive. It's, you know, false promises. You know, it's someone painting a picture of a perfect relationship and everything's going to be fine and everything's going to be okay. But that isn't actually the case at all, you know. And I feel like for her, the Strength and the Eight of Pentacles, it represents a woman who knows exactly how to manipulate the media to make her look like a victim, you know. And sometimes when people get caught out doing bad things and they've been in the media for so long, where they've been able to manipulate things and this time they can't, yeah, you will find that they're broken, you know. Look at Amber Heard in the days after Johnny Depp left because he got tired of abuse, and she looked withdrawn and things like that because they've lost the source of, you know, the person that they abused. They've lost that person. They don't have that anymore. You know, and even though he said that they're still together, which just doesn't make sense because she had a restraining order, so she wasn't allowed to contact him. So either, you know, I feel sorry for the guy. So obviously they must have been in contact in some way, but I mean, the energy I get from him, I actually feel like he's quite a sweet person, maybe a bit naive, you know, maybe he was texting another girl, but, you know, I don't think he was a bad person. I don't think he was abusive, and apparently his family have come out and said he was abusive. I don't know where this has come from, why they would do that, why his family would do that, you know, and Caroline Flack's family said he was abusive, but it just seems very manufactured. Very, very manufactured. You know, and these cards are really not positive. You know, the Seven of Cups is someone who has done the same thing over and over again, has made the same mistake over and over again, and they're wondering why they're getting the same result. You know, I mean, because she's never really had a long-term relationship. I think she's been with people maybe a year and that's it, but it's very common for people who are sociopaths and narcissists to jump from relationship to relationship when they've got what they want from it, you know, if there's nothing more they can get. You know, and I think people should really kind of take notice of the fact that she's represented by the devil here, and the Emperor reverse. She is abusive. She was abusing this guy. Okay? There's no denying that. There's no doubt about that. And people say, oh, well, the media twist things. Nobody knows what happened. It's their business. Well, I'm sorry, but if she's abusing someone, people need to know about that shit. People like that need to be shamed. They need to be shamed because they need to be shown that that behaviour isn't right and it's not something they can get away with, you know. And they're saying there's no evidence of it, but there's a police dispatcher call of her boyfriend calling them while she's attacking him in the middle of the night, saying, she's just hit me on the head with a lamp, I'm bleeding out, she's screaming verbal abuse at me, you know, she's throwing things at me. When the police arrive, she's threatening to kill herself. You know, obviously the ambulance staff took pictures, the police took pictures of his injuries. You know, he's not going to do that to himself, or at least I would hope he wouldn't do that to himself. But it's just all very guilty behaviour, you know, and I do feel like she made out she's a strong, independent woman. And it just... why can't people accept that women can be abusive? I just don't understand why they can't accept that. I really don't understand that at all, you know? And, you know, I do feel like she genuinely loved him, whatever her version of love was. However, there's no denying here, the cards show it, that she was abusive and impulsive and did things without thinking, you know, and people say, oh, it was an accident, it was a mistake. Abuse isn't a mistake. Yeah, you fly off the handle, but there's an awareness to a degree, you know. because that rage has to come from somewhere, and unless you're mentally ill and you literally don't know when you're abusing people, there has to be some awareness there that it's wrong, even if you don't know what's happened until you've done it. There's an awareness there that it's wrong, you know. And she felt a sense of achievement when she did that, like she was getting one up on him, like she was winning the argument because she hit him, and every time she did, she felt like she was winning. You know, this is the kind of attitude, behaviour that was here, you know. I'm not saying I agree with that, you know, that I'm happy about the fact that she's dead, but I do honestly feel like these cards here, I asked why she killed herself, the judgment, the fear of being judged badly by other people, and that is a very narcissistic thing. And the Nine of Wands is abuse. It's an abuse card, you know, and the ironic thing is she felt abused by the press and the media, but she didn't feel like she abused a boyfriend. And it's a very sort of, it's a twist of irony, really. You know, this in reverse is a victim of abuse. Sorry, this is a perpetrator of abuse. Is someone who is abusive, probably through things that they suffered in their childhood, but it doesn't make it right by any means. I'm just going to see if her boyfriend was abusive to her, just to kind of clear that up. Okay, was Caroline Flack's boyfriend, I think his name's Lewis, was he abusive to her? Okay. Okay. So I actually feel from him, what annoyed her about him was the fact that he didn't ever really give anything away emotionally. He was very kind of, he was guarded in a lot of ways, so he didn't give a lot away, and it annoyed her because I feel like she wanted to get that information so she could use it against him in some way. I do feel like maybe there was a lack of commitment from him because of the King of Pentacles in reverse, that there was a lack of commitment, and that annoyed her. But the Six of Swords reversed, you know, it's someone who just kind of walks out the room when there's an argument. They don't really entertain it. They just don't acknowledge it. They just leave the room, you know, and hope that it goes away. You know, in the Eight of Wands, I do feel like he probably was talking to other women. I just think he's a very kind of flirtatious, chatty guy. I don't think there was anything like, he wasn't intending to be with these women or anything. I just think that he got a little bit of fame because of being attached to her, so these women would contact him, and I think that's all it was. But I feel from him, he wasn't as committed as maybe she wanted him to be. He's quite guarded, he's quite logical, he's not very emotional. Well, not as emotional as she is, should I say. You know, on the Death card, obviously this is showing up because she's passed on now. But I just feel that it was his lack of commitment, the fact that he was quite rational and logical about things, and it really irked her because she wanted to get a dramatic response, and like in that way the abuse was like kind of her trying to get a response from him, if that makes sense. You know, by all means, I feel people who are abusers, they should get help, because there's obviously something wrong with them that they feel that that's okay. You know, in terms of her killing herself, I'm just a little bit like, well, you know, you could have had your opportunity to like, prove your innocence and work it out, but you just kind of, you know, like, why? I just don't understand. I mean, I understand feeling suicidal. I've been there myself. However, she knew full well she'd been abusive to him, and she had no explanation for it. And she felt very judged, and to a narcissist, to a sociopath, being viewed in a negative way affects them really badly, because it's not the image that they've portrayed of themselves, that they create for themselves. And I do just think that it was an impulsive, spur of the moment, selfish thing. But it's evident that she was abusive to this guy. This relationship was just a joke, in all honesty. He wasn't really committed at all. She knew that. She got angry by it. She was angered by it, so she attacked him probably more than once. Let me ask, actually. Was she abusive to previous boyfriends? Was she abusive to previous boyfriends? Okay. Yeah, she was abusive to them. I feel as though she kind of had a split personality, because the Temperance is like the two vessels. So on one hand, you know, she appeared very sexy, very womanly, very caring and maternal, you know, but then there was the other side of her who knew right from wrong but chose to go against it, was abusive to get her own way, was very cruel verbally, emotionally, just kind of throwing everything she can at people when she's angry, when she doesn't like something. And it is obvious that she was suffering with some kind of mental health issues, maybe even bipolar disorder, that she needed help with. And I don't think she actually addressed that until this situation happened. And perhaps maybe she didn't like who she was. And that's why she did it. Okay? I wouldn't advocate anyone to kill themselves, really. You know, if you've done bad things, you can get help, you know, and you can try and make up for those bad things. But there's no doubt here that she was abusive, and there will be things coming out in the media about this. There will be more proof about this. More people, now she's passed, will be coming forward to say what they've witnessed and what they've suffered at her hands, because obviously there's no repercussions now. She's passed on. And I hate it when people are like, oh, why bring this up now? He's dead, or she's dead. Because even when you die, it doesn't change the fact that you did horrible things when you were living. It doesn't change that. Look at Michael Jackson, look at Jimmy Savile. They were horrible people. They did bad things. And yeah, they passed on, but it doesn't change the fact they did them. And it's just a cop-out. Like, there's obvious evidence that she did it, because they got a court case and she got arrested, and the police officers will have footage and they'll know what they'll have seen. And, you know, the media are not gonna fake her going to a court or standing outside a court. They're not gonna do that, you know. And it's the Love Island culture that we live in, and like, oh, Love Island needs to be cancelled because it's caused so many indirect deaths. No, Love Island needs to be cancelled because it's shit, and it's just full of idiotic people who think watching a load of pretty people get hooked up with other pretty people is entertaining. I don't want to see that shit. You know, get me Barbara or Bill, average people, normal looking people looking for love, and I will watch that any day of the week. You know, it's so easy to blame social media for things when there's problems that already exist. Okay? The problems are already there. It's like when people blame video games and people killing others. No, the problems are already there. These people are already mentally ill. Don't blame things like that, because it's so easy to blame it, isn't it? Anyway, so that is my take on things, what the tarot cards have shown me. Please feel free to leave comments, like and subscribe if you choose to. And I'll be back soon with another video.